this book was written in 1987. So that being said, there's a lot of things that she covers in this book that do discuss the ways that other practices utilize spell bags. Um, it's not the worst book that I've read as far as that goes, but she doesn't really get into the nuance of why it's not okay to, call it a mojo bag or call it a gree bag, or she doesn't go into that because, again, 1987. But there are there's literally bags for everything in here. Abundance and success, physical health and balance. It's a great place. Love and attraction, health and mental health and balance, um, psychic and mental powers. So it's a great place to start if you're looking for like recipes for things. Obviously, take all of that with the grain of salt that it has. Make your own, use it as a reference, but just like with any um, spell book or witchcraft book, don't work directly out of the book. Use it as a reference, use it as a guide point, take the herbs that are in here that are listed and use your cross-checking and your cross-referencing and find something that works for your cultural area, your biodiversity, your bioregion. Wow. Um, and then, yeah, run with it. I think it's a great book, though, as far as she does talk about, the history of spell bags, why we use them, the difference between amulets and talismans. A lot of practices consider spell bags to be a type of talisman that can be charged and used as needed, charged when its power starts to wane, and that sort of thing. So, highly recommend. It's a great resource book to have on your bookshelf. Um, different types of spell bags. I have a few different things that I have here. So, for physical spell bags, you can go with just any old burlap or drawstring bag. Try to match your color to your intention, but you don't necessarily have to. I have some just plain canvas little drawstring bags that I use for like bath teas and stuff, and I make a lot of charm bags with them. But instead of doing a color on the outside, I may draw a sigil on the outside of the bag, or I may wrap it with a certain color ribbon to bring that color magic in. Tonight we're doing a protection spell, so everything that I have here is black. Um, and again, uh, it's kind of personal preference, just like with anything in your path, in your practice. You take the information that you're given and you do what works for you, respectively, right? Or respectfully. Um, so, that being said, the another thing that I wanted to just kind of touch on is I found this little bag of, I think these are like treat bags or something for like weddings or something like that, but they are craft paper, teeny tiny little bags. They're 4 inches by 2.5 inches. If you are doing something that requires you to burn your bag for whatever reason, this is a great alternative. You can put all of your herbs inside, fold it up, toss it in your, you know, fire safety, practice that. Have your fire extinguisher handy. Do it outside in the grill because that's what I do in the summertime. But I bought these on Amazon. I think I got 50 of these little bags for like $7. So, um, you know, another option for spell working with bags.
Quick thing, Casey.
Yes.
Another great quote unquote bag container type thing,
Mm-hmm.
empty toilet paper rolls
Oh, yes.
or paper towel rolls.
Yes.
You can bend one end and then you can burn it, or I personally bury it. So that's
Yes.
another really great bag container that everybody
Right,
has.
and super eco-friendly, and obviously because you have it, I mean, I know here in my house with two small children, we go through toilet paper like water. So there is always a number of toilet paper and paper towel roll tubes around. So yeah, definitely a good, and of course the cardboard when you bury it is actually really good for the earth as well. So that's which is why I went with these craft paper bags because they don't have any like coatings or chemical finishes or paint or anything like that on them. And because they're craft paper, you can just draw right on the front if you want to put a sigil on them or, whatever. So that's definitely a good thing. So,
Can you link that? Can you
yes,
link that if you have it?
I absolutely can. I will grab that from Amazon later and drop it into the chat, or the text chat when we're all done. So that way I don't have to navigate away. I'm afraid to navigate away from screens because then I'm going to screw up the video. And I think I still have PTSD from the last video. All right. So, on to making your own bags. So, last night while I was digging in the dark, I was able to find two pieces of black fabric, both of which are not solid black. Obviously, this one has constellations and this one has spider webs. Appropriate. Not what I was looking for, but in the dark, it was the best I could do. And I didn't even think about changing them out today and finding something else, but I'm kind of here for the patterns. So these are just small pieces cut out of like fat quarters, which are like 18 by 21. You can usually get them at any Joann's. I happen to be a seamstress, so I have tons of fabric laying around. So for me, it's not a big deal. But you could use an old, let's say you've got an old t-shirt or an old towel or something like that that has fallen apart and you're tearing it up for rags. You can absolutely make use of those pieces of fabric. It does not matter what type of fabric you're using. I do recommend natural fibers if you're going to be burning it for any reason. You know, but again, that's just personal preference and do your research on that one to see what you think would be best. And if you ever have any questions after we have this class or while we're doing this, please feel free to pop in and say, "Hey, I have a question," because I love questions. Um, And yeah, so there's two different types of bags that you could make. You could make a bag similar to like the little drawstring bags where you take your fabric, you fold it in half, sew up both sides, and boom, you got a bag. The other option is to take a small square of fabric and you would put your herbs and your spell ingredients in the middle and then you bundle it up like a little dumpling, maybe, and you get a little pouch that way. And then when you tie it up with the ribbon later, you create this little kind of pouch, I guess. So you could absolutely do this with no sewing at all. Um, so I know some people, don't like to stitch or don't feel like they have the skill to stitch, and that's okay. There are options. You don't have to sew it. You can, I mean, heck, if you really wanted to, you could hot glue, fabric glue, anything that you wanted to just make sure that the sides are secure. Uh, yeah. So, and I completely, in all of the mess with the power going out, I was going to like half stitch up one of these so that I would have it like halfway done. Um, but I didn't. So, does anybody have any questions so far?
About how big was the square of that material you were holding up?
This square is probably a bit too small. I would say that this one's about 5 by 5.
So would you say like a
I would
7
say
by
6
7 or
by
8 by
6
8?
to 8 by 8
Okay.
would be great.
Okay.
And honestly, that's just because by the time that you put your herbs and stuff inside, you want
It's
enough
going to
of
be,
a
yeah.
neck at the top to tie your ribbon around. And that just doesn't leave very much there at the bottom, the room for everything to go into it. Um, Again, it was just a quick, a quick cut. Um, this piece right here is one that I was going to do for like fold in half and then stitch up the side. This one is actually a little bit too wide. I would say that you would probably need 3 inches by 7 to 8 inches would give you a bag about the size of your standard little baby drawstring bag. So, and again, same thing. Once the bag is stitched up the sides, you don't need to worry about your raw edges. I cut these with a pinking shear, which gives you that kind of zigzag cut, which prevents it from fraying because of the diagonal cuts. But again, for the purposes of this, this is not a garment. This is not something that's being washed. So you're not going to deal with a whole lot of frayage. So it's not going to fall apart on you, when you do stitch it. Make sure that you stitch it up about, I would say anywhere from 5/8 to half of an inch in when you run your stitch line, and that's going to prevent it from pulling out. If you get it too close to the edge, you run the risk of your thread pulling your fibers out and coming undone that way. Hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, and then the same thing with this. Once your bag is sewn up, you put your stuff inside, write your little petition, put it in there, and then you're just going to tie off the neck with your ribbon. So, any other questions about that? That's really like super, super simple, and I'm sure you guys don't want to watch me stitch this thing together. I mean, I can do that for you.
While you're stitching, you could also do the intentions while you're stitching, correct?
Yes, yes. So if you were here if you didn't miss the poppet class, we talked a lot about that. So as you're stitching this, that's a big thing to think about because you have to remember you are physically focused on stitching this fabric together. And depending on the size of your bag, you're going to do that. Probably you're going to run, depending on the size of your stitches, you could run anywhere from 100 to 300 stitches to close, to seal up or to sew up the sides of the bag. So, that is a really, really good time to be focusing on your intention for the bag as you sew. And again, we've talked a little bit about color magic. This is a good place to institute your color magic, to incorporate that. So you could choose the color thread based on your intention. So if for some reason, all you have is a piece of white t-shirt or, a piece of white fabric, you can then use black thread to sew in that intention of protection, or red thread for that intention of self-love, or confidence, yellow. You could use any color that you could literally get your hands on, and then just stitch your intention into it. I mean, obviously, these little already made drawstring bags, I'm sure that we all have tons of organza bags. I know, at least from my witchy purchases, I usually come away with 2 or 3 organza bags with every purchase. I have a drawer that they just live in case I ever need one for any reason. Because of course I'm a witch, but I'm also a pack rat. So it's a thing. I don't like to throw anything away because what if I might need it? Hopefully you guys can sympathize with that. Um, but yeah, so you're stitching your intentions into it just like you would with anything else. And um, you know, I think we talked a
For
little bit.
me, it would be, I'm going to be so mad if I throw this away. And then in 2 weeks, I'm going to be like, damn, I wish I had that thing I threw away so I didn't have to go and buy another one. Yeah,
Yes,
no, I get it.
absolutely. Absolutely. Just want to make sure that that's okay. Sorry, my recording software told me that my primary source of sound, my microphone, was very quiet, and I was like, yeah, I wasn't talking. But then I had a moment where I went, oh no, did I capture the computer audio as well? Because I didn't do that last time, and it made for very awkward pauses in the video.
When other people were talking.
Yes, because I didn't catch the other questions. I only caught my responses. And as I was literally just in various fits of tears and laughter as I was trying to edit this hour and a half screen capture down. And there's just all of these pauses where it's like I say, I will say, like, I'll respond to somebody. They'll say, "Hey, I have a question," and I'll say, "Okay, yeah, what's up?" And then there's me not being just silence from me, and then you get, "Yeah, yeah, exactly." And I was like, "Well, this is really awkward." Um,
Nonsense. It was just ESP.
Yeah, I wish honestly there was a moment where I was like, "Oh, I wish I had been able to edit the video sooner because the questions would have kind of been fresher in my head and maybe I would have been able to like type out the question that was asked, and post it on the screen during the video." But by that point I was just so frustrated with it. I just was like, I just have to get this done. It just took so darn long. I don't anticipate taking that long for this one. Um, so yeah, and then once you have your bag made and ready to go, then you're gonna fill it full of your ingredients. And if there's not any more questions about the making of the bags, we are about halfway in. So maybe
Hey,
Carrie,
Casey.
if you want to jump in here in a minute.
Uh, we have a question real quick in the chat.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Awesome. You want to
Rogue
read it
was
to me?
wondering, yeah, Rogue was wondering if you're feeling spicy, could you use food coloring to dye the white fabric?
You absolutely could. You could use food coloring, you could use fabric paint, you could use fabric markers, colored pens. I mean, honestly, and then and again, you can get wild with that as far as your color magic. And just like with any other craft project, you could use food coloring, you could dye it with Kool-Aid. That works great as a fabric dye, especially if you're using like a cotton fiber. It sucks up Kool-Aid so well. Tea, if you wanted to do like a browner color, let's say that you've got a white bag and you want it to look a little bit more, um, you could use tea to stain it.
Ooh,
Dip it in a tea.
tea would
Take a What I do when I'm tea staining stuff, I do that a lot with like historical clothing that I need to make it look older than it is. I will on the pot in a pot on the stove. I will brew like 8 um, regular tea bags, just Lipton or whatever, um, and then let them steep for. I mean, normally with tea you would let it steep for like 15 or 20 minutes. I let it sit for like an hour and then strain out your tea bags and then just put it inside the teapot or in the pot of water, and just let it soak that color up. Let it sit for however long you want. I mean, the less that you let it sit, the less color it's going to get, obviously. Um, but yeah, I mean, you
tea
could go
would
nuts.
tea would be really good too if you want to infuse the fabric with the intent of the herb.
Yes, absolutely. I had not thought about that until you just started to say that, and then I was like, oh, that just made my brain go, ooh.
So lots of different ways, you
Yeah.
guys, to get your intent into
Yes.
this.
Yes, because I mean
Besides
you could do a
just,
chamomile tea or I know that black tea itself has many, many um magical uses. So, that's where you're knowing your correspondences, doing your research, and your cross-referencing is going to come into play with that kind of thing. And you absolutely can. You could even do that with a bag. Maybe you're not going for the color. You just want to soak it in that herbal infusion and then let the bag dry. I mean, that could give it some extra oomph. Absolutely. As a matter of
Soak
fact,
it in
my
the
brain is
coffee.
going, ooh, we got to try that.
Same. Soak it in coffee because the coffee is a magical booster.
Yes, yes. Soak it in coffee. You could actually, if you wanted to speed it up, you could make, take oats and cinnamon, put it in a pot, and then strain the oats and stuff out, leave the water and soak it in that. Um, and that would, I mean, the cinnamon would speed things up. You've got the oats as well, um, for as a power boost. So, yeah. That excites me. I have to write that down as soon as we're done so that I don't forget because I am going to try this. Um, yeah. So, are there any other questions as far as bag making goes? Crickets.
Maybe not so much on bag making, but
Sure.
maybe because you said this is a protection spell.
Hmm.
I have chickens, so I have an abundant amount of eggshells, and I was gonna ask if I could add eggshells to it to add for another source of protection, especially since I have my own chickens and it's like just sourced from myself.
Absolutely. I'm going to step aside and I'm going to put Carrie up on my big screen and
Okay.
I'm going to let her take over on that
Okay.
because she can definitely tell you.
I'm over here grinding eggshells as we speak, so that's why I was like, wait a minute, could I add that? That's protection.
Yes, you can. And that's always what I will tell you.
Is your recording gonna work if you have to switch back and forth between people?
It should be just fine. I've gone ahead and put Carrie up on the screen. It should be caught in my recording, and it is. So yeah, I'm definitely good on my end. Thank you for asking, though.
All right, wanted to double check.
Absolutely. All right, Carrie, I'm going to step back and turn it over to you.
All right. But yeah, definitely. Whatever that you feel called to, swap it out. Swap it out, add it to it. That is, you will find as we build this that I have been called to add things to this that I normally wouldn't have. Like, I'm not going to have you guys add. It's just this bag is, I've been told what it's for. So, as we all know, the world is in the state that it's in. So this is part of a healing process for that too. And well, that was just random. So I know that not everybody can charge their ingredients all the time on their altar, but the way that I've found it best is to take out the ones that you're going to need in small amounts, and that's what you'll find. You guys can't see my whole little pile here. I have everything out in piles, but that's because I had it on my altar overnight, except for the star anise, and I'm going to have to do something special, which I'll teach you guys to do as well, because Casey brought this up the last time in the Poppet class, and that is speaking intention into your herbs. So this is kind of like an Appalachia folk magic spell, so welcome to my Appalachian Folk magic practice. You'll find that in your snakeskin. Snakeskin is not only good for protection, but it is a good return to sender, especially depending on the snake that you have. I own a California king snake, and California king snakes are known for eating any other venomous snake. So they're very, very good to have around, and that's what using this for is for anything venomous thrown my way. I want to send it right back to that person. So
you can keep your snake. I'm good, but thank you for the offer.
I totally understand that, and not everybody has access to that. So I know that I have it, so I utilized it just like the chicken eggs, which delighted the out of me. So, baby powder in Appalachia is used in a lot of protection markings. Not only is it used in nightmare sachets for kids, but it is a great grounding unit. So I always add that on top of just a little bit. Because if you've got a bag, I've got multiple bags inside of this, but of course baby powder gets everywhere. It's like glitter. You'll be finding it forever.
Can I ask a question on baby powder real quick?
Right.
Yeah.
So, with the whole controversy of baby powder versus cornstarch baby powder, does it really matter which one you get?
Nope. And you can even swap that out for eggshells if you want. If you want like a thicker consistency.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Nope, it really doesn't matter. It's what we had access to. So that's what you'll find a lot. Whatever we come across, that's what we had. So we utilized it.
I'm excited to hear you talk about the baby powder, actually, because when I saw your ingredient list, I was like, baby powder. I want to know what the properties of that are, because I have never heard of baby powder before.
Probably won't hear about it a whole lot outside of Appalachia.
That's
you will if you read some of the books that I have suggested. It really is a good grounding, but also like what this does is, hang on, I've got it written down. So baby powder can also repel jinxes, hexes, and the evil eye. It can keep off haints and protect against witchcraft, accidents, and lightning.
Interesting.
Yeah. But you find it a lot used in like protection sachets for babies and nightmare sachets for babies too. So.
Plus, it smells really good.
That would have been helpful when my son was having night terrors a few years ago.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I wished I'd have been teaching sooner. I just added bones to mine because, like I said, there's a lot of chaos going on in the world right now. And my other throw-ins are going to be lavender, and only because Grayscale Druid sent me a care package this week, and it had fresh lavender in it. So
Nice.
I thought it was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, it's never a bad thing. So, all right. And I know hyssop was on that list. All right. Here's what about hyssop. Hyssop is used, like you'll hear, holy hyssop oil. It is a good cleansing ingredient. So this is going to be to protect your mind, if you will, against any kind of like psychic attack, anything like that. It's to keep your head thoughts cleansed as much as possible, if that makes sense. Because, usually if you get caught up in any kind of spiritual warfare, they want to go for your mind and make you crazy. Holy hyssop is to prevent that. This one sits on my altar all the time out in the open because I make a lot of oil with it and I go through a heck of a lot of it. So,
Could you use in substitute of that, though, if you don't have it? Because I was thinking I could do it like a combination of sage and lavender.
You could. And also that's where the chamomile comes in, too. So you could do chamomile and lavender if you didn't have holy hyssop.
Okay.
Oh, he moved it. I was going to pull
And
out
you could-
my correspondences book and look at it because it usually lists substitutes. But one of my kiddos, helped clean the room earlier and they moved it. So it's not right here.
Hang on. And I just added my chamomile. Hang on just a second, because you know that I have books absolutely everywhere.
That might have been the same one I was going to reach for. So
It's just this one I really don't need a tab system for.
Is that the Scott Cunningham Magical Herbs Encyclopedia?
It sure is.
I have that.
That one is such a good
you
read.
can
I
use,
reference it. I reference it all the time.
too.
You can also use rosemary
I
to
have that and I forgot.
Rosemary. Okay.
So
And you guys, a good thing to remember too is, especially when we're doing classes, we'll be like, you need this, this, or this. But don't forget, you can always substitute whatever correspondence that you guys need. This isn't set in stone. This is, yeah.
luckily with spell ingredients, there are so many that have similar properties. And, we are fortunate today that we have the ability to,
Amazon, order whatever you need.
right, and we have the
Right.
ability to access things all over the world. We can get things that are outside of our bioregion, but it is important to make sure that you know what herbs are native to your area because that may be easier for you to get your hands on than, just because a spell calls for a specific herb does not mean that you cannot, substitute it easily with something that is either easier to find or, it's like for those of us who don't have access to snakeskin, red pepper flakes are
Yes.
great for that spicy return to sender
Oh,
alternative. So, that's what I'm actually using tonight because I don't have snakeskin. So,
And our ancestors didn't have access to all of this. They had access to their backyard.
right.
So,
if you didn't have like any crystals and you wanted to add a grounding element to that, go outside and pick yourself up a rock, talk to it, tell it what you want it to do, tell it why it's going in the bag, and you've got a grounding protective agent right there. I mean, I've done that multiple times. And so, one thing that I will mention with the chamomile that I put in this bag is one reason that I put it in this bag. It is protective as well. And sometimes I do sprinkle it around my property with my eggshells. So I will tell you that it's one that I use quite often. So if I happen to have rosemary on my desk at all times, I'm going to put rosemary in this bag.
And just like last time, in the poppet class, we were talking about stones, and a lot of times people put some kind of petition or sigil or a name or something like that in their bags. Your stones can do something like that for you as well. You can make some kind of symbol on a little pebble with I use paint markers here, but and again, it doesn't even have to be visible. So you could have a black stone and a black Sharpie, and it's the fact that you wrote it there is going to be good enough. Um, and then just place that inside your bag also.
we've
So,
we've got another question.
Okay.
yes.
Uh, Lo is wondering what your guys' opinions on jar versus bags and closing off energy is.
I would put this in a jar, and for me, it's not a closing of energy. For me, it's easier for me since this is sort of kind of considered a ward, if you will. It's easier for me to watch that on the inside of a jar because I mean, while there are mundane things that happen, like it's easy for me to tell when a protection jar stops working because I can see it, and I can also see what ingredients I need to swap out. Like with the garlic that I'm going to put in this, like I actually have a clove of garlic to go in it, which means that I will be opening this 2 to 3 weeks from now, taking that out and replacing it, if not replacing everything else that's in it. So, um, for me, it's easier with a jar, but I like sachets.
See, and I have there for me, I think I said it. I know I said it in the last class too. There are things that I will not put in a jar because there are certain things, and where my intention is to put my intention out into the universe, and I feel like sealing that in a jar is contradictory. Um, it's going against what I'm trying to do. So there are certain things. I mean, I will do protection jars because, again, they can be placed easily somewhere that, I don't run the risk. I mean, the cats are not going to eat a jar. The children are not going to eat a jar. They might pick up a little baggie and get curious about what's inside. So there are times when a jar is absolutely the better option. Uh, but I do also like sachets. So
Definitely be careful too, you guys, with especially if you're doing anything being buried. Um, be careful with what you put into the ground, what you put into the earth.
yes.
This is usually what I usually do the toilet paper thing, but you'd already brought that up and it made me really happy. Of course, I didn't have my camera on, so you couldn't see my reaction. But that's usually if I make a protection jar, my jar is my toilet paper tube, and I just seal it off with some kind of like eco-friendly wax. I'm a beekeeper, so I usually have like beeswax around. Seal it off with that, and then I bury it. So.
Mhm.
I am adding my garlic. And so one reason that I had you guys do star anise is purely for luck. Like, this is always spicy psychology at the end of the day. And why not, what's a little luck gonna hurt you? Like a little luck that your bag's gonna work, a little luck in your life. I mean, it substitutes for multiple things, and also luck with protection. So I usually add some kind of dominating factor, and be it cloves or star anise, that's usually what I do. And this bag is actually going to go on the altar for my patron because he is the one that told me what he wanted in it. So I said, okay. Yes, sir. You get normally I stick to my lessons, but this time I wasn't allowed. So current world events keep me from that. But yeah, there you go. You have your bag, and since I did use this before you tie it or after you tie it, especially since mine's one of those like filmy whatever you called these some kind of bag, and I
Organza.
can't that right there. You can actually speak into it and breathe into it life and tell you what you want it to do. You have to tell it that you want it to protect you, your home, your bedroom, your space, your bag, wherever you're putting this. One thing I will say in at least my culture, I don't let people like I don't let muggles see my bag. I make them for my purse sometimes, and I don't let people see them and or touch them. That's just my superstition. That's the way I was taught, that once somebody saw it, you had to redo the whole thing. So I've never let people see it, so I don't know if that's actually superstition or just tradition.
It's actually cultural. I know the book that I was mentioning earlier, This Magical Art of Crafting Charm Bags, she actually talks about how, I mean, in some cultures, bags like this were made to be worn around the neck under the clothing or in a pocket or something like that. So there is that element of keeping it secret. Yeah, so it's not just superstition.
So can I like touch on that? So in Appalachian Folk Magic, like one thing is if you do one of these if you're going to court, you're supposed to do one of these little sachets and wear it underneath your shirt in order for success in your court case. So
Yes.
I thought that was like
Yep.
a neat thing. So
Very neat. I love
On the bay leaf, can you write your intention as well on the bay leaf to increase it?
bay leaves
Okay, 'cause
make
I did.
excellent paper when it comes to that. I mean, I know for myself personally, if I have a spell that involves a bay leaf, that becomes whatever I'm writing on. I'm going to write the name, I'm going to write the sigil, I'm going to write my petition, whatever it happens to be, is going on that bay leaf, and then I'm tucking it inside. If all you've got is crushed bay leaves, that's fine. You can absolutely put a slip of paper or something else with that symbol or petition on it. But I figure why add extra things that I don't need to if I don't need to.
Yep.
So, fortunately, most bay leaves you can buy them whole because most people, you don't really eat bay leaves. You use them as seasoning. They go into a stew and then they come out before you serve it. So, because they are not great. They're not good eating, that's for sure. But they're great for flavor. They're just not good to eat. So, usually
I just
you can
imagine
buy them whole.
I just imagine taking the crushed up bay leaf and like putting some in your palm and like drawing your sigil in the crushed bits.
Oh,
That's something I didn't even think of.
yes.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, that's good.
Ah!
That's absolutely good. And I mean, that is one of those things that as you practice and as you continue on your path, you're going to find little things like that, again, there I would not have ever thought about it until you just mentioned it. That's brilliant.
Yeah, I
Um,
literally just pulled out my book to write that down too.
that's brilliant. And yeah, I mean, you're doing so
Well,
many things in that moment because not only, and if you do this, depending on, like for me, I work a lot with energy. And for me, my right hand is my dominant hand. It is also my projective hand when it comes to energy. So anytime that I'm sending energy out, I will do that with my right hand. I receive energy with my left hand. So if it were me, just the act of tracing that sigil on your hand where those herbs are is in essence a form of charging that energetically, because I'm doing that with my energy and I'm pointing that energy into those herbs. So that's brilliant.
I was thinking of doing it with each herb every single time that you put it into the bag, just
Oh,
even for,
yes. Oh, the
yeah.
energy that would go in. Yes, the energy that would go into that would be incredible.
Well, and the great thing is you can create a bind. Well, for me personally, it would be bind runes,
Hmm.
but you could create a bind rune or a sigil that is specific for each thing you want:
Yeah.
protection, psychic protection, whatever. So that would be even more intent and
Yes.
energy on top of everything else.
Yes. I love that. I love, love, love that. I'm writing that down when this is over. Fortunately, I'll have the recording first, so I'll get to go back and pick up all of the parts that I'm like, oh, I got to make the note of that.
And also, if you're not one of those people that like to speak stuff out loud, because there are a couple people that are broom closeters and or don't want to talk, you can actually like focus your intent. Like once you're done with that bag, like take it and hold it in your hands and just sit there and meditate with it, like thinking very, very hard, hey, this is what I want you to do. You don't always have to speak things out loud, because I know that a lot of people have problems with that. So I always like to tell them it is perfectly okay. Even if you want to charge it and sleep with it at night and then move it to where it's supposed to go, perfectly okay too. So
Yep. Absolutely. And another thing on that, I know I'm one of those who I am only just recently starting to actually speak my intentions when I do things. I have almost always done everything in my head. Um, and it's only recently that I've become comfortable enough to not feel, I don't know. Honestly, there's no one here to judge me. Why, why am I so awkward? But, but again, we talked about this in the puppet class, if you don't want to tell it what to do, think about it and then still blow that air. Use that breath of your life to activate it. That is an absolutely valid thing to do and something that you can do on the sly, you know? No one ever has to know what that means, or it has, there's no question as far as that goes. So, yeah. Does anybody have any questions?
I don't. So I'm just writing shit down now.
I feel like we blaze through it tonight. Like, and I apologize in advance. When I'm anxious and I'm excited, I tend to talk like 1,000 miles an hour. So I am so sorry if I just steamrolled over everybody with
No, it's okay.
all of that. I got
I
excited.
love that. I love that everybody is taking notes too. Like it's such a clean class this time. You guys did such a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. It's such a simple thing. And, this can be, again, you can make these just like puppets for anything.
anything.
It's just another container, really.
It really is. And I do apologize. Tonight, you guys are not getting me at my best. My spiritual job has been a very interesting. I will just say I have a whole other notebook for what I have done spiritually that I will not read what I have done or the stories out of that. So you're catching me very, very drained as to where last super interactive, and I do apologize.
Hydrate.
I've done
Good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for spending what time you do have and what energy you do have, Carrie. It's greatly appreciated.
Yes. Carrie, I thank you for joining me tonight. I was so stinking excited to get the chance to learn from you a little bit. And I did learn something because I am fascinated with the baby powder thing.
I knew that it was an ingredient that probably, if you're a mom, you've got, or if you have kids, you've probably got access to it. And yep, and it's super simple. Nobody ever thinks about actually utilizing it, and it goes into it in Jake Richards' books, Doctoring the Devil.
Uh-huh.
It actually goes into how to utilize baby powder even more.
I have a question, if I may. So, just thinking outside of the box here. So is it baby powder specifically, or is it talcum powder? Is that kind of the...
You know?
Well, because I was thinking about Gold Bond. Gold Bond is a medicated powder, and it tends to have things like menthol in it, which spiritually can absolutely have a little bit of a bite to it.
Yep.
Which, another return to sender kind of thing, that I mean, especially if maybe you're doing something, and I don't want to get too deep into this, but if you need to, I mean, menthol is cold. It's got a bit of a chilling effect. So if you're doing something that maybe needs a little bit of freezing or
a little bit of...
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that just excellent.
Yeah, use Gold Bond. You could use what's that? There's like a certain thing that I've seen men use, the monkey butt powder, which would do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, anything to that effect. It could be it could incorporate itself as your grounding element, your protective element. Cinder.
Yeah, it's because it's got that. I mean, because usually they have some kind of menthol or something like that in them, which
it could also be calming too. Mm-hmm. Like if you had anything like come your way, like that menthol kicking in, you know how it's like a comfort thing, especially in Appalachia, comfort thing. You get the comfort versus the wrath of whatever was thrown at you.
It's the fixed vapor rub of. It's the fixed vapor rub of spell ingredients.
We do have a question in the chat.
Excellent. Thank you. You're the best moderator ever, Ashley.
Is there a difference between telling your ingredients what you want them to do versus asking them what you want them to do?
Yes. My immediate answer is yes. And here's why. Because you could... Asking means like you're asking for permission to utilize them, which you probably should have done like once you pick them up. Like you should have thanked them for being utilized for whatever it is, whether it's like just regular like spices in your cabinets, what have you. But I mean, and that's just me. Like when you ask something, it has the potential to do something else. Versus whenever you tell it, you give it specific instruction, you give it specific direction. And, think about asking your kids to clean the room. Are you going to have to ask them 4 more times?
More like a dozen.
Yeah.
More like a dozen. Sorry, I'm fighting with my daughters to clean their room today.
I've been asking for 6 months and my kids' rooms are still a mess.
Yeah.
Oh, they have until the end of this weekend, or there's a garbage bag that's going to be visiting their room.
Well, for a death statement before. But yeah, so I would highly suggest telling them what to do, because asking gives them the option to do whatever they feel like doing. And as we know, most of these herbs can be alternate, like they have alternate like meanings and stuff like that. So you want it to go a specific way versus having the opportunity to throw in some chaos there. I mean, unless you want chaos magic, then I mean, by all means, ask away. That would, if I were a chaos magician, I would be asking my herbs what to do, because then everybody's going to be surprised at the outcome.
And
I hope that answered your question, Conundrum.
yeah, I'm gonna agree. If you don't mind me jumping in real quick.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to say that the thing is again, when you are choosing your herbs, at least I know for me, I do thank them, and you can tell them what to do respectfully. And I think that that's the key here, is it's not so much a demand. Um, I'm not, stomping my foot saying you will do this. It's more of a, this is your job,
This is your purpose.
please do it. And
Yep.
it's respect, again, just treat them with respect, and they will give you what you what you need in return.
Sorry, I instantly think of the meme. You had one job. Like as soon as you said that, like that was the first thing that came to mind. I was like, "Oh my God, Megan, calm down."
No, and that's great. And honestly, that's the only thing is that with herbs. I mean, goodness, chamomile, for instance, it's protective, it's calming, it's soothing, it has peace and clarity and communication. Like, there are so many things that it can assist with. So it's important to pick out the one thing that what you need its purpose to be of those things.
Also brings me to something that I do think that people don't discuss enough too. Whenever you're taking your bag apart, say it's done its job, say you're ready to swap out everything that's in it. What you want to do is, as you're deconstructing it, obviously take out the stuff that's not decomposable, but you want to put this back. You want to thank these items for their time, for their energy, for their effort. Now I have, rocks and stones in here which take out, I will cleanse, and then I will utilize for other things, especially since this is, for all intents and purposes, a protection. But like, after I'm done, I really will. I'll go bury the herbs. I have a compost pile. It's part of like my practice that I maintain it. So what I'll do is, as I'm putting those back into the earth, like I will recycle even that earth for other things in the spring, like my gardening and things of that nature. So you always want to make sure that you are very, very respectful to your herbs and thank them for their time. Like, thank them for doing the job that you had them do as you're deconstructing it, and bury accordingly. Or, if you have to toss in the trash, that's fine. But definitely thank them for their service, essentially. Like,
Yep.
Not to make it military there, but that's a
No,
good.
it's a great. I mean, it's a great way to describe that, because again, I mean, I know I say this a lot about deities and deity work. You are not telling your deities what you need them for. You are building a relationship, and that works. I mean, the spirits of your herbs, the spirits of your plants, the spirits of the land around you, all of those things, you are cultivating relationships with each one of those. If you wouldn't say it to a friend, don't say it to your plants. Don't say it to your herbs. Don't say it to your deities. Like, you wouldn't want a friend to treat you that way. So that's just kind of like for me, that's like my I don't want to call it like a golden rule of my practice, but it is kind of that. It's the golden rule, but it applies here to deities and spirits and such. So
You should see the way the patron's candle is dancing now that you said that, and like, there is no airflow in here at all. So I am okay. All right. Well, we made someone happy this afternoon.
well,
Your patron makes me very happy. I am so thankful for what he has allowed you to share.
You and both, because well, it's caused other problems, but at the same time, like, it's still, some of this needs to be discussed. So I'll go back to teaching on Monday.
Now when you say patron, do you mean like your spirit guide?
No, I mean I'm a devotee. So
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry. I was just confused because that could be so many things. It could have been an actual person. It could have been a spirit guide. It could have been a spirit animal.
So Hades is my patron. I am, for all intents and purposes, an Appalachian death worker. I've just taken an Appalachian folk practice and meshed it with how to heal the dead and the grieving. And sometimes I can see life force, which has been very interesting for me. I guess it means that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing in my path, and that's very interesting as well. But Hades pretty much dictates what I do, when I do it, and how I do it. But I mean, that's a devotee status. I do not recommend it for everyone, because let me tell you what a spiritual face slap feels like.
I'm sorry, did you say a spiritual face slap?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Yep. No thanks. Hard pass.
Hard
pass.
And see, and then sorry. Go ahead. I was just gonna say it.
Thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah, see, and I am always funny for me because I have been practicing for a very long time, but I have only recently, within the last year, begun to work with or honor certain deities.
Yes.
I guess. And
I love that wording.
It's still very, very new for me, and it's very hard for me because I am not, I'm doing good on a daily basis to keep me and the kids alive and the animals. Like, you know what I mean? So there's not a lot of energy left over to give to a spirit or a deity. So I am very fortunate in that I am like, okay, we're gonna keep it here. We're honoring you. Belanos is my the first one that I started working with. And it's a mutual. He reminds me that the sun is always shining, even in the darkest of moments. And so, like, I mean, the kids we were cleaning in here today, and I have little suns everywhere, little like sun plaques with faces, and I have little sun charms. And the kids are like, "Why do you have so many suns?" And I was like, "Well, a solar deity, for one, but it's that reminder all around me, especially in the winter months, that the sun will return and it's not so bad as I think it is. So it's kind of that's the relationship that we have. He doesn't really ask for much other than some marigolds in the summer. He likes the marigolds.
That's pretty cool, because that is also a big thing with Hades as well as the marigolds, chrysanthemums, things of that nature. Like, I mean, see,
yeah,
I have to have like a whole other, like, I have to have my water out for the dead. I have to, like, he was like, oh no, this is what this is all for. And I'm like, okay. He was like, you start this during this, and here we go. And I'm just like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay. And I mean, I understand, like, part of my UPG in that, but, like, I've been working with Hades for a long time now. So,
I am so excited to get to that point with the two that I work with. I am so excited.
Have you ever had to, have you ever felt a deity reach out to you and you had to, like, politely say no?
No, usually with me, it's been mostly death deities, and they're here to work with me or teach me something. So typically I don't. If another deity walks into my existence, it's usually to teach me a lesson, and I usually need it right when they walk in. I mean, my patron's wife has been very prominent lately in my self-care issues that I have, because, well, I'm human and I'm fixing to enter my, like, depression time, because when Persephone comes back to the earth, I fall in a hole. And it's good luck till fall. When everything starts dying, that's when I'm like, ooh, hey. But most of the time during that time, there are other deities that come to me. Freya was one of them, and I learned a lot through that working relationship with her, but it was never a devotee deity status. But if I ever felt like somebody else was going to approach me for a devotee deity status, like, I would politely be like, no, I'm sorry, Hades will eat you alive.
My dance card is
Yeah.
full. Thank you.
Pretty
Yeah,
much.
I had what I thought was Lilith reach out to me because I'm currently honoring Hecate and the Morrigan. And when I asked if that was Lilith, like I felt like a finger spine chill down my back, and I was like, "Please don't touch me!" And it freaked me the hell out. And I was like, "Yep, I'm not ready. Go away, please." Freaked me the fuck out.
That's a divine, powerful energy right there. A dark, divine, powerful energy. I have an appreciation for Lilith. Do I want to work with her? No.
No, me neither. She and it's also because I feel like I don't understand her, but I also, because I don't understand her, I also am not ready for that.
I think it's because I understand her.
Oh, well, I mean, regardless, I'm still like that. Just like scared the bejesus out of me, and I was like, I can't do this. Sorry.
Well, and
She'll be
I
back.
mean, and that's Lilith is one who I've studied Lilith for most of the years that I have been practicing. And Lilith is difficult because she is on the level of a primordial being, going way, 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 way back before. And Lilith is the name that we have given her, but and that therefore it just her energy as it is so much, I don't want to say stronger, but more intense maybe than a lot of others because she is so much older.
Casey, you just made me realize what I have to do.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I do work with Primordial, so I'm gonna be calling in Primordial.
Yeah.
Yay!
I'm sorry. I have a really bad habit of it's very funny because I have discovered through working with the mod squad and this group of amazing Witchfits that while I don't necessarily have deities showing up on a regular basis for me, they come to me for them. So
It's greatly appreciated.
I can't tell you the number of deities that I've had show up in card readings or during like chat sessions when I've been like, "Oh, you're here for so and so." And it
I
gets
am
very
still
odd.
very grateful for you telling me that Frigg is here.
I can feel her when you're around. It's very bizarre.
I'm gonna have.
I can feel the energy that's around you whenever I talk to you. Same with Carrie and her patron.
That's because, well, Hades is real mad at me still right now. So this is me kind of making up for that. But
I like his energy around you, though. Like, I can definitely tell.
it's a love-hate relationship. No, he really does love me. Like, he really does. It doesn't matter how sassy I get with him or how much I argue, like, because there are just some things that I don't feel are necessarily justified because of the human being that I am. So, sometimes I need that strong